dark cosmos, stay cosmic.
Milos Island, Cyclades, Greece, Tuesday, 21 hours, somewhere underneath the catacombs of Milos. The dawn of a new dusk was gingerly approaching. I could tell from the sleek black digital clock behind the speaker, its red digits pulsating like a timer to the start of something, or an end. It's funny how time worked both ways. It could be moving to an end or a new beginning, yet every end was a doorway to a beginning, and every beginning a doorway to an end. Something had to be beyond it all, a nexus connecting it all. I hadn't felt so exhausted and yet so excited at the same time for an age. Could it be true? I repeatedly thought to myself. We finally cracked it. Our knowledge of the multiverse was only a tiny fragment of what we knew in a much grander scheme of things. So, where are we? Anton Leatherman said, snapping me out of my reverie. You were talking about a dying star, Olivia Alma said, like a prompt reminding an actor of their lines. Right, Anton said, then turned to me. You see why I asked for this meeting to be held as soon as possible. I see. It's riveting. It's more than just riveting, Foley, Anton went on. It's a reality, and the Mactus could be the first to experience it if we act fast enough. And do what, exactly? Brad Fletcher asked, a tinge of unbelief in his tone. And do what? This should be good, I thought. I liked hearing them rummage through sensitive issues like this. It usually meant the solutions were impeccable. After all, we were called the Mactus for a reason. 6 of some of the brightest minds alive, united by a hunger for truth at all cost. Or so we believed. That's where the dying star comes in. For a noted cosmologist, Anton was rarely excited about anything other than his wife, or working with Ramsey Gamal, his expert on occult astronomy, who was also in the room with us. What about the dying star? I asked, wondering what a star had to do with anything, yet knowing well enough to let things unfold at a steady pace. A lot of people argue what happens within a black hole. Now, though most of these theories ring true, a few dying stars speak more deeply than what meets the eyes. Oh, for the love of God, speak English, Anton, Olivia said, agitated. You're not telling a story. This isn't Lord of the Rings. There's a star called Eden, Anton replied, ignoring Olivia's comment. The second and probably the last of its kind. Unlike other black holes that form when a star collapses in on itself, an Eden black hole becomes a nexus point between this universe and realms beyond. Realm? I asked in disbelief. Surely you're not talking about something supernatural? Anton cracked a smile. An overwhelmingly large part of the universe remains unexplored, unknown, and thus there's a chance that laws of physics vary. It's only logical we believe that whatever dimension led to our very existence be unknown too, and therefore is beyond our understanding and our laws of physics. So you're saying we might be visiting the realm, I put the word in air quotes facetiously, responsible for our universe? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. When did you become a religious man, Anton? What is this, a trip to heaven? Olivia asked, laughing. What about the Big Bang? I asked, ignoring Olivia's banter. Take out everything in this room to its smallest indivisible form, and you'll find one thing. Sound. Anton paused, letting that sink in. You can't have a Big Bang without sound, and you can't have sound without a source. So, we're going to find God then, I said, and a few of the others chuckled. It's more like going to the other side of paradise. Ramsey Gamal, Anton's partner back in Egypt spoke for the first time since the meeting started. "To what end, Anton?" Brad asked. Among the 6 of us, he was the least patient. "Enlightenment," Anton replied. "Humans are nothing without enlightenment. It's why we keep evolving. And this brings me to the final step to enlightenment, the doorway." "A doorway?" Brad asked, skeptical as if he couldn't believe his ears. "We're gonna walk through a doorway to the end of the universe." "Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do." "You gotta be fucking kidding me." I was lost, and for a group with so much knowledge on a vast number of topics, talking allegorically wasn't really our way. The fundamentalists knew this ancient path long before the talk of timelines and multiverse theories came into the picture. What we know about the unknown world is very little compared to what actually is. We don't even know enough to call it knowledge. All we have are scattered fragments of something so vast, it possibly could be anything. We could walk through the doorway and enter nothingness. We could walk through the doorway and find what we truly seek, a life beyond ourselves. Trust me, my brothers and sisters. Trust me, interrupted Ramsey once again. Have you ever tried this before? I asked, looking into Anton's eyes with a piercing gaze. No, he answered honestly. Yet my intense research with Gamal points to a doorway that opened up to one man who went to the other side on the same day an Eden black hole was formed not too far from the galaxy Andromeda. How do the two connect? I don't know, but he clearly states it in his journals. A year later, the same man returned to our world and went on to be the brightest mind alive in his time, even stretching throughout history. A man who came up with the concept of time dilation, the same one who came up with the relativity theory, Albert Einstein. There was a pause in the room as everyone held their breath, absorbed in their own thoughts. I have the journals. I could show them to you. It's remotely possible another black hole is being created today, isn't it? I asked, seeing a glimmer of light in what he was saying. By my calculations, it should be right at this very moment. Anton was fired up with possibilities of what he could do. And where's this doorway you speak of? Right here, he smiled. It's been right here the whole time. Beyond the doorway. We walked through, yet everything seemed to be normal. No bright light, no special effects, no unicorns or fairies, goblins or orcs. No advanced civilization or intrinsic ecosystem. Shit, there wasn't even nothingness. Hell, it was almost like we all just walked through a regular door. I was boiling with rage. What the fuck, Anton? I turned to blast Anton for taking us for complete idiots. But he wasn't there. No one was. In fact, the door I had just walked through was gone. It was strange because only a minute ago I was standing in this same room beneath the catacombs. Then I walked through a door, only to end up in the same room again, but this time without the door. My mind started to revolt from the unreality of the situation. Was I losing my grip on reality? Didn't any of the things that just happened happen? What the hell was going on? My mind churned with a billion thoughts and processing at an alarmingly low speed as far as I was concerned. This was probably what going mad felt like. The constant desire to want to reassure oneself of sanity, even if it meant holding on to an illusion. Knowing I'd lose my mind if I spent more time there in the catacombs of Milos, I walked towards the exit in long strides. An old oak double door with two huge brass knuckles to aid in pushing it open. The door was made so that once sealed from inside, it was almost impossible to open from the outside. I pushed through into the catacombs, an intricate web of tunnels covering a third of the island, and responsible for killing over 2/3 of its tourists. An attraction site for the lost and dead, it was fondly called. I had been down there many times since I founded the Mactus in 1999, over 20 years later, and we hadn't grown in number or decreased. Yet the 6 people who were sworn brethren of the Mactus didn't know much about each other than a few surface details. The only one I knew well enough was Anton Leatherman. We had both been in the SAS, until we had had enough of killing and tried a different approach to life, called preserving. He went on to read cosmology, breaking every ground breakable in the known areas of his field. If there was one man who knew what the hell was going on, as long as it wasn't some kind of bizarre prank, it was Anton. I needed to find him. But how? After skillfully maneuvering my way out of the twilight of the catacombs, I stepped out into the open, and what I saw cut me to the quick with pain. Nothing. Exactly. I saw nothing out of the ordinary. The streets, the people, the buildings, the machines, every single thing was normal. For over 20 years, the core desire of the Mactus had remained the same, to discover enlightenment beyond mere humanity, Anton being the most enthusiastic of us all. And in that very moment, I asked myself, was it all a lie? Without wasting too much time on thoughts of what had gone wrong, even though I'd be thinking about this for the rest of my natural life, I dashed for a cab. I needed to find my way to the airport. I needed to find my way to Egypt, to Anton, and possibly strangle the bugger with my bare hands. Cairo, Egypt. 2 hours and 45 minutes later, I was in Cairo, making my way to Anton's home. On the flight over, I had done nothing but feel rage and let my mind churn on the absolute ridiculousness of everything. I'd lost family, I'd lost time, and I'd lost myself, being a full part of something I felt had purpose. Now I felt like an idiot, and Anton was just stringing us along. The drive along the dusty road to Anton's home took about 30 minutes, but it felt like an age. I paid the fare and raced with anticipation to Anton's front door, a moderately adorned home in one of the classier suburbs of the city. Without knocking, I pushed through, yelling his name. "Aaron?" came his reply, with shock on his face that could only mean one thing. There was definitely more to this story. Without saying anything, I sucker-punched him in his lower abdomen with so much force I could feel the breath wheeze out of him. Pulling him up again, I punched once more, but this time on his face, sending him to the side. I have one question. Why? My eyes were pleading with the man who I'd come to know as a brother, the man who I had fought with, bled with, and even found some measure of redemption with. The man who I was willing to fight with, bleed with, and preserve life with. I don't know what you're talking about, Aaron. I don't. For some reason, he didn't attack me or fight back, which was odd. What do you mean you don't know? How are you even here? We were all just together down at Milos. We walked through a door together. How the hell are you here, Anton? What the fuck did you do? Dad, a tiny voice said from behind Anton. What's going on? As Anton turned to look at the boy, I could see him soften a bit, like a father who loved his fragile child. I had only met Anton's son once during his early stages in life. It had been 7 years or so since then, and the boy had grown. I was about to smile when I noticed something about the boy. He seemed to be standing there, but something about him didn't feel quite right. It was like I was watching an image on television, but then I could actually touch the person if I wanted to. To satisfy the curiosity tugging at my already weary heart, I walked towards the boy with a somewhat forced smile on my face, since I didn't know what I was dealing with, or if I was plain crazy. "Hi there. Remember me?" I said, grinning, and reached out my hand. "Don't do that, Mr. Foley," Anton said, which was strange because he never usually addressed me so formally. "Why do you sound like that?" I swayed my head towards him and asked. He just stared at me almost blankly, yet it appeared as though he was seeing right through me. Ignoring it as a fit of paranoia, I turned to look at the boy, but he was gone. Something felt uneasy about the whole room. The sudden urge to get away from Anton's home ran through my being. I never doubted my instincts before, but at this point it made me wonder, what the hell is going on? "I'll head out," I said, unsure of what to say next. "Maybe find the others, see if they know anything that might help me understand the last 4 hours." "Do you need to?" Anton asked. "I mean, you could just be one guy in a mirror world filled with billions of people." "What does that even mean? What are you not telling me, Anton?" I was getting disturbingly wary about Anton's demeanor. "What if you did reach the end of the universe?" He paused, letting the statement sink in for effect, "but found a mirror dimension instead. A world that's maybe only a projection of the world you left behind. A reflection of the life you once lived." "Left behind? You make it sound like we're dead." I almost laughed at the absurdity of the notion. Without acknowledging my reply, he went on talking. "Think about it. You find the edge of the universe, but it all ends right here. A mirror dimension, a small fragment of a larger multiverse." "I'd say you're rambling," I replied point-blankly. "What did you expect to find? Little green men?" He stared intently at me. "Another world? Perhaps. And there you go, shooting your own self in the foot. There are things man will never get access to without being connected to a certain reality, and only in that reality can a human even start to understand enlightenment." "A reality? Aliens, then?" My mind churned with thoughts at that moment. Thoughts upon thoughts upon thoughts. Alien to you, yes, but until you know, until you understand this reality that I speak of, everything will be alien to you. That was it. I had heard enough, and so I quickly headed for the door, then into the street, all in an attempt to reach the others who I believed would have more logical answers as to why the so-called portal door hadn't worked. It started to rain. The clouds were dark, but not that way about half an hour ago when I entered Anton's home. With an unforeseen outburst, the downpour started, pounding away at everything it could touch. People scattered for shelter, and I was about to do the same when something else happened, draining the color from my face. A mirror world. What just happened? Everything froze in place. A man running with his dog on a leash, trying to find shelter from the rain. The droplets themselves were still. Nothing moved. Everything was still. It was as if someone had hit a cosmic pause button. Everything stood in place, lifeless yet full of life. Or maybe you're the one who died. A voice I had heard not too long ago said from behind me. I turned and stared into the eyes of my erstwhile friend. Something seemed dark about him, something I had never seen before, like an oily cloud of dark smoke suffusing his aura. What the hell is going on, Anton? I was barely able to suppress the sheer fear in my voice. You wanted to know what lay beyond the known universe, didn't you? He asked, with his arms laced over his chest, like a teacher of some sort. I was too shaken to respond. You see the caution you felt before walking through the doorway, he said, walking slowly towards me. That was a warning. Each step he took towards me was causing my heart to tighten with claustrophobia. His aura was engulfing my senses, and even the air I was breathing seemed to be filled with him. It's like he was distance itself, and yet a different being entirely. I knew one thing for sure. This man was not Anton. "Who are you?" was all I could ask. The question is, what are you going to do now that you can't go back? "I'll do anything to go back," I pleaded. I don't belong here." "But you came here. You made a conscious decision to walk through that door. You made a choice to be here, Mr. Foley. Lightly or not." "I don't know what this is, but I've seen enough, and I just want to go back to reality." "There's no going back for you, Mr. Foley. In fact, that's why I'm here, to ensure you don't leave. Choices have ripple effects, Mr. Foley. They are inevitable. You may as well have died the moment you walked through that door. The only reason you're still here is because your consciousness hasn't accepted that you are dead. It is torn between worlds, to coin a phrase. The one you left, and this." I started to back up slowly. My head was spinning. Everything felt surreal, but too real to be fake. Yet according to this man in the shape of Anton, I was living in a dream. I turned and I ran, with so much adrenaline I thought my heart might give out. "You can't outrun your fate, Mr. Foley." His voice boomed from behind me with so much authority. "The others accepted theirs." Hearing that made me stop dead in my tracks. I turned. "Where are they? Where's Anton?" "Gone. We shall say dead. Unlike you, they soon realized what was required of them. Come to me, Mr. Foley." Ominously, he stretched out his hand, the fingers too long somehow. "Come to me. Release yourself from this burden. Come to me." A tear rolled down my right cheek with a bitter sting. There I was, only a few hours earlier, thinking Anton had led us to believe a lie, and wondering to what end. When in truth, we did reach the end of something. But it was our end. The end of the universe? I knew not. How do I get out of this place? I pondered with a heavy heart. This cannot be real. It has to be a dream. My own damnation and possible salvation stood before me, masked as my best friend. Suddenly his face twitched a little, alternating between Anton and something entirely out of the ordinary. The flesh moved, shifted in an almost protoplasmic way, alternating back and forth. The other thing was humanoid, engulfed in a blue flame. The man alternated between a human and the face of a creature with blue eyes and a mane of blue flame. Within the twinkle of an eye, everything twitched back to Anton, and I broke into a sprint in the opposite direction. You can't run, Mr. Foley. To every beginning there is an end, and to every end is a beginning. His voice boomed again with the authority of someone who was well within his jurisdiction. With those final words I reflected on during our meeting earlier, everything started moving again like nothing had ever happened. The rain thundered on, and people continued to seek shelter. Like ants, I thought. I turned, and Anton had vanished. Vanished. The word sounded strange. "Hey, mister, why don't you get out of the rain?" a man said from under an awning that looked longer than usual, at least long enough to serve as a shed. I was too shaken to realize that everyone taking shelter was looking at me like some kind of weirdo. I turned to the man who had spoken, and it was the one who I saw running for shelter with his dog earlier. "Excuse me!" I yelled, running towards him. The look on his face clearly showed he was perturbed by my sudden outburst of emotion, but I didn't care. I needed answers, and I needed them fast. "What year is it?" I asked almost frantically. "Sir, calm down." He had the hint of an Australian accent, probably a tourist. "Please, what year is it?" I asked more calmly. "It's 2021, he said, still puzzled. "Is everything all right, sir? Are you real?" Oh, crap. The stupid questions were flooding my mind. I was going crazy. The guy started to move away from me, with no regards to my question. "Please, I need answers. Where is this place?" I pleaded. He quickly turned and started for the next awning, but I grabbed his arm. He turned, and we got into a tussle, and then he punched me, and I threw one back, hitting him square on his right cheekbone, causing his right hand to let go of the leash holding the dog. The force sent him tumbling onto the street with a bleeding mouth. Still groaning from the pain and trying to find his bearing, an unforeseen truck, seemingly appearing from nowhere, ran him over on that very street. Screams and shrieks could be heard as bystanders in other awnings rushed to the now deceased dog walker's aid. Then, for the second time, things came to a standstill. Everything froze. "You do more damage than good the more you cling on to this limbo, Mr. Foley." I could sense his aura even before I turned to see him standing under another awning, observing everything, like a predator waiting for his prey to bleed out. "There's only one way out, Mr. Foley." His voice had more intensity than our last encounter. "Come to me." The tears were gearing up to begin their pour down my face in streaks of pain. I didn't want this to be the end. My end. "Anton, if you're in there, if you can hear me..." "Anton is gone, Mr. Foley," he said, cutting me off. "You speak to me now." "What are you?" I asked tentatively. He smirked. "I am the one you so eagerly sought, the reality beyond all realities, the forever one." He paused, as if letting that sink in. Then said, "I have an offer for you. Accept it, and you return home. Reject it, and your fate is sealed." I was hesitant, yet anything that gave me a shot at getting back to the reality I knew, I was willing to yield to. "I'll let you go back to your point of origin on one condition." His gaze was piercing. "You yield and listen to my voice, only mine, and in return, I'll show you secrets to live beyond your reality. There have been others before you, and there will be more after you. You are replaceable, and so I give you a choice Mr. Aaron Foley. Yield and listen to my voice, or pay the price for the choices that brought you here. Silence. Loud, shrieking silence. I accept, I said. Then it is done. He snapped his fingers, and just like that, my whole body slowly faded into a shimmer of dust. The present. My eyes flickered slowly open, almost scared to do so because they had gazed upon the most bone-chilling of things. They opened, revealing a familiar ceiling. I was in my room. It all must have been a dream, I thought to myself, about to sigh in deep relief, when I heard it. When I heard him. It's your new dawn, Mr. Foley. The reality of the Forever One. Hey, Creepypasta fans. Thanks for listening. To connect with and support us, make sure to check out our Discord and Patreon links in the description. And remember, stay cosmic.